doing that?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, so I'm from Government Digital Service. You might ask, who the hell is Government Digital Service? We're part of the UK Cabinet Office, which sits at the centre of the UK government. We exist basically because of something that happened shortly after the 2010 general election. Francis Maud asked Martha Lane Fox. Martha Lane Fox is the person who set up lastminute.com, now known as Baroness of Soho, I think is correct. And she was asked to create a kind of digital strategy for government services. And she wrote actually what was quite a short letter to Francis Maud that's kind of revolutionised everything that government is doing about its public-facing services. Ah, thank you. So this is Martha Lane Fox, and this is Francis Maud. So basically that letter gave government a plan. They're going to create government digital services, hence I'm here. Going to fix publishing. So over the last 3 years we have tried to squash the frog, close down every government website we can find and get it all on gov.uk. And apparently we've been doing that for 3 years and we've still got more websites than we started. It's an impossible job. But you'll notice gradually all the services that you use online, government services, and there's something like 700 odd government services that will be put on gov.uk in the next 2 to 3 years. So GDS was formed in 2011, and it's all these great things. It's open source, it's agile. We haven't used the word lean optimization yet. I did take a note down to mention that word here. It's working in multidisciplinary teams. I mean, we're not quite where Craig is, but that's the kind of aspiration. We want to do all that guerrilla stuff. We want to be fast. We want to be agile. We want to be responsive. These are actually two of my colleagues. I said 100% and we were going to seriously focus on user needs. And this is the Costa Coffee on the corner of Kingsway and Holborn. That's the view from my office. So these are users, and these aren't people. We're getting out of the office, right? Yeah, just these 20. No one else. So our aim is to make services so good that people prefer to use them over the alternatives, right? We've got some legacy systems out there which are really bad. A lot of services are still very paper-based. Our aim is to make services online so good that people will use them out of choice. And that leads us on to the project that I'm involved with, which is transformation, digital transformation. I've come from private sector. I've worked for private companies all my life. I started in the pharmaceutical industry. We didn't share anything with anyone. And it's really weird that everything I'm working on is public access. So you can go and look at the digital transformation stuff on that URL there. So the last 2 years, we're halfway through this process. We've chosen 25 of the biggest government services out there. That's services of over 100,000 transactions a year. Some of them are really, really seriously big. On the office wall is a map with where all the services are based. And I took a photograph of that, but it was too big to upload to this presentation. So here's a map of the United Kingdom, in case you didn't know what it looked like. No, we've got... yesterday I was at DVLA in Swansea. That's seriously big, 40 million transactions a year. That's something like 4 truckloads of paper across the Severn Bridge every day going to Swansea, they told me yesterday. They had a huge print works. So we're going to transform that. The mantra is digital by default. We're going to try and get rid of all that paper, put it online, and just think of the lovely, lovely cost savings we're talking about. So we're working with HMRC in Swansea, Student Loans Company in Glasgow, DVLA in Swansea, HMRC here in London, Environment Agency in Bristol, Department of Work and Pensions in Preston. So these are big projects all over the country. So we're going to make them simpler, clearer, faster, and easier to use. And all these services will have to meet the digital by default service standard by April this year. Actually, that's not quite going to happen, but that's the kind of aspiration. An awful lot of them are making their way to there, but they're not all going to be live by April 14. But we do have that hard stop, which is the general election in, it's actually May, I think, 2015. Well, we're kind of wrapping up in March 2015. Kind of working for the Cabinet Office. Everything has that kind of election cycle. So, digital default standard, what the hell is that? It's actually quite a nice kind of, I think, way to end this meeting, because it kind of brings together data and user research, UX and data. And the government are really, really serious about this. This is, again, you can go to this site, I think, yeah, there's the URL. That is gov.uk, which won a Design Museum award last year, their design award. It's the first time a government, anything, I think, has won that award. So all our services will be on gov.uk. So it'll be driving license.service.gov.uk. So we're doing 25, 700 to go. Hence I need 25 Craigs, right? We'll just sort that out. I'm sure someone in one of the research facilities could work on that. There are 26 criteria on the digital by default standard. I've just got 8 up here, but the kind of important ones, they're all kind of saying great things. Number 7 up there is all about benchmarking. Sharing our performance, sharing user satisfaction data with the public. Again, you can go and look at the performance data online at that address. So 4 KPIs. Each service must publish 4 KPIs. I mean, some of this is paying lip service to it, but it's really good because it keeps it in the forefront of people's minds. So we're going to publish user satisfaction with the service. We're going to publish completion rates. We're going to publish, and I can't remember one of them, we're going to publish cost per transaction, and we're going to publish, what's the other one? It'll come back to me in a minute. Number 8 is all about, user research early on, iterate your prototype, learn, move on, make changes. Number 9 is all about, create a simple service that's simple and intuitive and easy to use. Number 10 is really important. It's all about assisted digital. Not everyone will be able to use a website. We're going to be putting in some support for people who can't. They'll be able to go to job centres, they'll be able to go to government offices and be helped to complete forms and make applications. We were talking about Caroline Jarrett earlier. Caroline's working on one of these exemplar projects. She's working at the National Apprenticeship Service in Coventry. But she was working at DEFRA, and we had an all-staff meeting. There's something like 500 people in GES at the moment. We're all packed into this lecture theatre, and she showed some user research, some videos of user research, which was really, really kind of said everything about user research for me. They went out to, so we're working with DEFRA, Common Agricultural Rural Agency Payments. So farms all over the country rely on these payments to keep them going. And the current system, the legacy system, is very, very difficult to use. And farmers are running farms, right? They're driving tractors. They're not using computers. Many of them don't have broadband. They're still on really, really slow connections. And Caroline shot these videos of farmers trying to fill in their payments. And they were saying things like, if I get this wrong, the money's not going to arrive, and I'm going to have to make a decision: do I feed my cattle or do I feed my family? There's kind of tears in the audience. Really important stuff to understand. So we've got to get this stuff right because it's important for people's kind of lives. Moving on, number 18. We're changing these. So I've been in some assessments for services. They come in. They're in alpha, and they're going to get assessed to go to private beta. And we say, do you have an analytics tool implemented? Yes. Tick. That's great. Well, we're kind of making it a bit more objective there. We're going to say, and I'm going to come back to this in a minute, can you model your user journeys? Can you identify the points of pain? Can you show areas where you can maybe candidates for user research or A/B testing or MVT? Show us where you're going to on an ongoing basis improve your service. So, I mean, that's where I'm mostly involved. I'm a product analyst, right? And digital analytics is my thing. So number 8 is kind of where I spend most of my time. And number 19, they're all in kind of a strange order, really. But number 19 kind of feeds off number 8 and some of the others. We're going to build a service that can be iterated on a frequent basis in response to user feedback and performance data. So, right, you've got to do your user feedback regularly. You've got to be on top of your data. You've got to be measuring performance. And that's going to inform how you iterate your service moving forward. 20, it talks about put a plan in place for ongoing user testing and multivariate experiments, right? So, making all the right noises, and I believe, we can be a bit cynical, but I think we're serious about it. And 21, achieving ongoing high levels of user satisfaction across the piece. So, how to pass the digital assessment. So, we used to just say, do you have a tool? Yes, we've got Google Analytics standard implemented. Great, pass. Now it's getting a bit more difficult. We're talking about, can you model the user journeys? So I think you had a Google Analytics funnel and maybe an Omniture funnel, was it? I've got a ComScore digital analytics funnel just to show you that. So we're not biased on one tool or not. So this is legacy data from our passport service. This is 2 iterations ago. Just kind of, I did have a very complicated one from student loans, but it's just too much. So, this is just modelling the journey, isn't it? This is the progression rates, which pages they exit the transaction, and where they go when they leave the stage. Great insight. Exit paths, fantastic. It'll give you fantastic insight about people's frame of mind when they leave the site, what information they're looking for. Right now, so I was asked to talk about tools. And I want to firstly make one point. There's no bad tools, really. There's just bad implementations. You've got to work with the tool you've got. Some of them have, advantages in one area, and some of them disadvantages in the other area. And I can't really, we're kind of tool agnostic. I can't stand up here representing the Cabinet Office and talk about actual brands or services, because I'd get in trouble, and they didn't pass what's like. So what I'm going to talk about is, I'm going to go on and talk about some things you might want to consider when you're choosing, and I'm just talking narrowly here about digital analytics, because I'm talking about modeling, I'm talking about within transformation, we're talking about modeling user journeys. So we're just talking about digital analytics, or maybe you want to call that web analytics. So these are the things to think about. We've got some really sensitive projects. We've got HMRC, Department of Work and Pensions. So they are thinking about, should we go for a hosted solution where the data's all over the cloud, or Google's got all your data? Who owns the data? The service level agreement's a bit iffy, I'm not quite sure. Each of our products has a senior information risk officer, and they've got to have a level of comfort around the data security and the privacy policies of whichever tool we opt for. So that is a really big, one of our projects is going for on-site. They're keeping the data, they're hosting the data themselves, so they don't have to share that data with anyone. But then, of course, you've got all the cost of doing that is that you've got licenses, you've got to think about hosting, you've got kind of equipment to worry about. You might even go open source. There's one product called PWIC, which is an open source kind of thing. I'm just getting experience with that. But again, you're hosting the data. There, you really have got to know what you're doing in terms of hosting and processing data, because if you don't get it right, you start to back up the user experience, and that's not a good thing. So we've talked about privacy data. So, EU data centers. That's the questions I get asked by our information risk officers all the time. Where is the data held? And it's not just the data. It's where is it collected, where is it processed, and then where is it hosted. So I think I'm right in saying Google can often collect data in the EU and process it in the EU, but it's held all over the world in the cloud. And then my bugbear is can we work with them in an agile way? I do find Google quite easy for that, because you can get expertise all over the place. There's a lot of people who are very, very good at working with Google Analytics, and you can be quick. You can make your changes yourself. Some of the other kind of companies, the bigger ones, I don't need to, maybe, your Adobe's and your WebTrends and your ComScore, they can slow us down a little bit. It can be a bit frustrating. Great tools, but God, just be a bit more responsive, please. Costing model, big thing, right? Google Analytics standard free, excellent. Well, it's only free if you up to 10 million server calls a month. And then they will not process your data, or they may not process your data. You then lose confidence with your data. You don't have to be a big service to hit 10 million server calls in a month. So then you've got to start looking at Google Analytics Premium. So Google Analytics pricing model is kind of like this, like that. Free, 9 grand a month, or whatever you're paying, 12 grand a month. And then some of the other kind of paid-for services might be a more cost-effective option for you, because their costs kind of ramp according to server calls. Some of our existing departments have got Comscore digital analytics contracts, WebTrends contracts, Adobe contracts, and they're actually kind of, depending on the size of the service, they're kind of more cost-effective than going straight for Google Analytics Premium. So the other kind of costs are, one-off licenses. If you're doing on-site, you've got licenses. You can process the data. You need to buy a license. You've got other implementation consultancy. Again, this is where it kind of slows us down a bit. We're trying to move really fast. Some of our projects I've been amazed by how fast they're moving. DVLA, 40 million transactions a year, and they're gone from alpha to kind of private beta in 3 months, 4 months. Incredible. So you've got implementation costs, you've got ongoing consultancy costs. We've spoken about server calls and support. These are all can be costs can start to escalate quite quickly. And then data. Do you want access to the whole data set, or are you happy to have sampled data? Do you want to be able to analyze retrospectively? Comscore kind of data analytics is great for that. I didn't have much experience with it until very recently, and I was modeling user journeys. And I'm used to working with Google Analytics where they're only prospective. I build a funnel, and I have to wait for weeks until I've got enough data to start understanding it. But digital analytics, I had years of data which I could apply to the funnel. It's really useful. Legacy data is really, really important for our kind of development for transformation. API access as well. I forgot to show you the performance platform. The performance platform, we take, I spoke about the 4 KPIs, but I didn't actually show you the platform. We suck up data directly from our analytics providers and draw some beautiful graphs using, I think it's Google Charts actually, really great kind of dashboards. And that kind of relies on API access. So how much does API access cost? That can be a cost as well. Custom dimensions. I love custom dimensions. This is being able to pass extra information back into your analytics solution that are kind of specific to you. Google doesn't have a custom dimension for prison name, for instance. That's our prison booking service. Family members choose which prison they want to go and visit, and we pass that back to. That's a Google Analytics implementation. We pass that back to Google, and then we can cut the data by prison. I mean, that's not kind of hugely interesting yet, but it's the first time they've been passing back dimension data to Google. So now they've gone crazy. They're passing back the number of time slots people have booked, the time it's taken for them to get from the beginning to the end of the process. So you're now kind of passing data back up to these tools to give you. So I remember someone saying interesting insights exist where conversion rates meet segmentation. Just a kind of average conversion rate across all your visitors isn't very interesting. But comparing it across multiple segments, that's where the kind of nuggets of insight really, really exist. So the more kind of interesting segments that are meaningful to the business can give us the insights, give us the hints of places where we want to get in user research, or do some MVT, A/B testing, etc. And I kind of covered data up there, I didn't go about that. Features. Conversion goals, they all do conversion goals. They all kind of, but they don't all do it retrospectively. And if you haven't anticipated the data you want, that's a pain in the neck if you've got to wait. I don't know if anyone is experienced using Google Analytics, but Google Analytics used to have this thing where you built a funnel, and they've recently got this verify funnel button, which allows you to check that everything's working. But what used to happen is you build a funnel, then you'd have to wait a day to see whether the funnel worked. And if you made a mistake, you'd have to change it, and then you'd wait another day, and then it could take a week to get it right. So where was I going with that? Yeah, so funnel, and also a really important one. I showed you that funnel early up the kind of slides. That was a graphic from ComScore. And the great thing on ComScore, it can be useful. Sometimes it's useful to look at funnels in terms of visits across sessions, while some tools are just within a session. So it kind of depends what kind of service you're talking about. A lot of government services are across sessions, so it's quite useful to be able to apply a funnel to visitors rather than visits. Segmentation within a tool. You don't want to have to anticipate which segments you want to look at and then kind of create a separate profile. You want to do it on the fly. You want to say, oh God, wait a minute, I wonder what Chrome people look like compared to these guys. And you want to be able to see it side by side. Again, comparing conversion and segments is where the kind of interesting stuff lies. Path analysis, I did yesterday, error pages. What was the previous page someone saw for an error page? That was in a meeting this morning with redundancy apprenticeships. I was showing them the data live, meeting full of user researchers. God, we didn't realize we had so many error pages. Where were they before they saw that page? Oh, right. Yeah. Insight. I've mentioned, I love custom dimensions so much I've mentioned them twice. And custom reporting. Most tools have a kind of a report builder where you can create your own reports. That's so useful, particularly because the aggregated reports you get from most tools don't fit your business. You might want to have certain metrics compared to certain dimensions. So I'd really give some serious thought to when you're choosing a service, a solution, what kind of custom reporting they allow. And that's really all I was planning to say. Basically, this is kind of everything that I think transformation is about. It's about user insights, building a better service on an ongoing basis. So I hope that kind of a good example of user research and data kind of working together, and hopefully making a difference to kind of all of us in this room and everyone outside as well. So that's me.